My name is Dr. Paul Hickey. I'm the CFO of StealthEnomics, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 5 of our Higher Ed CIO Roundtable Series, or as I like to call it, the Anti-Insomnia Series, where we talk about some things that may keep CIOs up at night, and how can we help them sleep better. So we've had some discussions in the past about cybersecurity threats, and now we're really going to move to the most important thing in higher ed is the students. So for enhancing the student experience, I think back to when I was a freshman compared to when I was a grad student. And the one thing that sticks out, as simple as this sounds, when I was an undergrad, for registering for classes, we had the newspaper with all the classes in it. We stood in line, walked up, started reading off classes, and the person behind the keyboard basically said, "Oh, sorry, that one's full. Oh, sorry, that one's full." And we were scrambling. Now, fast forward, everything's done online. You're paying your bills online, so it's so much easier as a student. But let's bring in John Norris, our resident expert. Hey, John, what's good word?
Hey, good afternoon, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Those of you that have seen our webinars before know that John Norris is our resident expert. He's the CIO of Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, and basically brings over 20 years of IT experience working with students. John taught me students come first, faculty, administration, and working across the entire breadth of departments in the university to basically make that engine go. So John, last time we talked in our last episode, you just ushered the new students in. Now, a couple weeks into the semester, how has the student experience changed? And are they happy with you right now?
Well, I think so. I've been relatively clean here. I hadn't had very many darts or water balloons or whatever they decide to use.
You're hiding your phone number again?
Yeah, virtual shots thrown at me. But this is the point in time after we've been in school for a few weeks when we really start to experience the lull in activity for the back end business part and really start to kind of figure out, okay, what are our students doing? What's important to them? What makes sense? What's causing them some angst? And all that kind of thing. So I actually spent a lot of my time out and about, walking around, meeting and greeting and talking to students, just trying to figure out if we're really providing services that they really need and want. And not just... I have to say right now, of course, most of the students I'm talking to are new students, so they may not feel like they have the voice to express very many concerns, but in general, they're happy with the situation there. They're happy. Knock on wood, we didn't have any technical challenges during the implementation of the beginning of the school activity, so that was a good thing. Some years that's not the case, but that was a really good thing. And they're just happy that most of the things they did were pretty seamless and whatnot. And they're able to do some new stuff like upload photos and upload documents that they needed that traditionally, as you experienced years ago.
Hey, it wasn't that long ago. Don't age me too much.
And present the folks there, but all good. And you know, when I talk about students being first and us wanting to focus on the students, sometimes, Paul, they really don't know the power that they have. You know, they are really, really customers. And this is a big investment for many of these students. One of the biggest investments they'll make. And if they only knew the power that they have, but sometimes, you know, they feel like they have to take whatever we're giving to them and whatnot. But that's not the kind of place we really want to be. We really want to respond to what our students want, what our students' needs are, and provide the best for them because they are truly our customers. A lot of people don't like to call them customers, but they are customers, and they deserve the very best that we have to offer.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've always thought it to be hilarious that as a student, the customer, I'm paying and then I'm being assessed and I'm the one being given work. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?
Exactly. Absolutely. That's the way it happens. And, you know, a culture thing, you know, the best, most highly efficient universities, the ones that these students are flocking to, most part, you know, they've recognized that the student is king, the students in control, and they really are the bread and butter for most universities.
Okay. So how are you taking IT and, you know, and technology overall and enhancing that student experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing right now is just understanding where the students live. And I don't mean, where they lay their head at night, but where are they most of their hours? And they're really on these mobile devices. So the more services we can make that are available via the cloud and are available quickly through some kind of app that are available on their Apple smartwatches and whatnot, the better experience they're going to have. So some of the same background uh, pieces are there, but how we present it to them.
Okay.
We sometimes forget that these students have had technology, many of them since they were 5, 6 months old. The new pacifier for the infants is sometimes the iPad or
Yep.
mom and dad's cell phone. So they're digital natives and they're used to this stuff and they want to interact and move around through their university experience just like they do in other parts of life. Amazon's a great organization. They make it hard on a lot of other organizations to try to.
Well, it's funny. I remember with my nephew, who's now a college sophomore. My sister-in-law gave him the phone because he wanted to buy an app. Well, somehow he ended up buying a $400 app. It was some business software. She was able to get the charges reversed, but it was a little bit of a panic when he thought he's buying some game and he's really buying this big piece of software.
Absolutely.
But actually, let me draw the string on that money thing I mentioned. In a prior discussion that you and I had, I remember you mentioning that in the past, the department with the money won, and that led to segmented purchasing and technologies. How are you combating? Well, are you facing that now? And then how are you combating that to make it more efficient across the university?
Well, that is always a challenge. Cash rules everywhere, and he who can bring in the cash, normally that carries some weight with it. However, you're absolutely right. However, we've been able to convince most folks that, hey, listen, whatever you're going to bring into this environment now, we need to make sure we sit down and make sure it's going to interact and intersect with all the other tools we have. Because the one thing you don't want students to have to do is jump around from different tools and have to learn different ways of accessing them, different things like that. And so being able to convince our university colleagues of that has made a big difference. So I don't think we have that issue nearly as much anymore. We have a project intake process that we've been working on, and we're able to convince folks that, hey, listen, you'll have a better bang for your buck if you confirm and follow to these principles that we already have in place. And again, the bottom line, we're trying to make things easier and more accessible and always on for our students. So if what you're trying to do doesn't conform with some of those things, let's rethink it, because there is a way to do it. There is a way to do it. And so that is still out there. I talk to a number of colleagues from time to time. It just depends on where you are in the journey and kind of what leadership, how much influence leadership has. There are times when the leader of the university just has to put their foot down and say, hey, listen, this is how we're going to do business moving forward. And if you don't want to comply, you got to do something else, because we can't afford to waste or add more complexity to the system.
Roger that.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, hey, John, do you mind sticking around? Because I'd like to bring in Eric Randstrom from 5.9, and then we're going to do his pitch, and then we'll come back to you and have another conversation.
Well, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thanks. Can we bring in Eric? Eric, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Paul. I really appreciate it.
We're excited about your customer experience expertise. Eric comes from 5.9. 5.9 is a leading customer experience platform that empowers your agents to engage with customers across the channel of choice, and basically provides managers with visibility into the contact center performance. Eric specifically is the East Coast Enterprise Sales Director for 5.9 state and local government and higher education team, hence why you're here, of course. Over your 25 years of telecommunications experience, you focus on that next generation solution encompassing networks, and so many other things that would be too long to explain your expertise. But in the interest of not hearing me speak and really hearing you speak, I want to turn it over to Eric. Eric, you got 10 minutes as the time cop. Time commissioner, I'm coming back in 10.
It's okay to
Over
be
to
a cop. My son's a police officer, so I'm used to that. So
Roger
thanks a
that.
lot, Paul. So I really, what John was saying really resonated, right? Is we've got so many of our college and universities and institutions saying, look, how do I capture the student as quickly as possible? There's really two pieces to this puzzle. It's the student journey, right? And they're doing their research and whatever that might be. It's a college fair, it's online. They're doing inquiries, they're filling out applications, and then ultimately getting to admissions. But what happens in between, right? Is how quick from a speed to a speed to lead type of scenario where an institution is getting that information and able to say, oh, I want to be able to capture that student and give them a good experience as far as, hey, look, this is you've applied, you've inquired, we're very reactive and we're going to help you get there. In the next column, what you'll see us talk about is, from once they've done their research, they've got to make a commitment and a selection. And then that really just starts the work. I've got a daughter who is starting her senior year in college, and she's the last of three in our household. Yes. So happy about that. And but I was asking her, I said, geez, if you have to call financial aid, what happens? She goes, oh, I have to dial this number. Oh, or what about your classes? Oh, I have to go here, or I have to dial a separate number. And so all of these steps along the way of learning what they have to do, how they have to capture information, get answers so they can relay information to me as a parent, because I'm also invested in this journey. But also being able to say, I've got a handle on this and I've got to make it easy, right? As John said, they're digital natives. They're used to getting information quickly. They're used to being able to get answers when they want to, not necessarily just when people are around. So we're seeing quite a bit of automation come into play in all of these processes, and ultimately being able to have that good student journey within that 4 years or longer. I was on the longer side. It brings us to that next column where ultimately you come to graduation and now you're an alumni. And as mentioned before, the folks who can get the money, and alumni donations are obviously a key component to getting funding for different areas. Capturing that all in elevating that journey for the student gives them that good feeling about, yes, this was what I wanted, this is what I expected, it was better than I expected, and I want to be able to continue that. But now, as I said, there's two parts, right? This is the student journey, but also there's the university's journey, right? You've got to be able to help understand and identify the people who are interested, right? We've seen decreasing enrollments across the board in most cases all around the country, and that is a key area where people are saying we've got to get people come in. What is that ROI on my investment, and am I making the right choice? So getting that engagement early, and getting it not just with a person being able to, hey, I'll call you back, but to be able to get that information and get that so they can help make a decision and feel like they're being cared for the way Amazon cares for you, right? 1-day delivery, 2-day delivery. Great. We can get quickly respond to inquiries and get information. In the next column, right, of course, get them enrolled and then ultimately support them. Being able to have a situation where they can use a mobile device and access different information to different learning management systems, different customer relationship systems, and being able to support them for that ultimately will keep them on campus, right? Being able to keep them engaged and continue moving through their process. And from the university standpoint of the last column, you'll see that, look, you'll be able to nurture that experience, nurture that the goodwill that was put forward by the university or the college that allowed them to have a good experience. So we look at it as that two those two different journeys. And on this last slide, we'll give you a feel for, really being able to understand what that student or even an employee wants to look at. In the past, it's been, hey, make a phone call to get information. Well, as John keenly pointed out, it's not like that anymore. They want to be able to say, okay, can I can I use a chat? Can I text? Can I use social media to get into my university and gather the information that is needed? And where we find our platform allows us to do that quite well is not only do we support all of these, what we would call omni-channel functions, um, but it also provides you with the opportunity to you take the inputs, tie them back to your CRM platforms and push back out information, right? We've been doing this for 20 plus years as a cloud only solution. So we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on, okay, how can we get that to work? And it's only improving as we're getting into the use of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and being able to take advantage of those pieces of technology that's out there. And ultimately, as John said, you've got different people doing different things in different segments within the university. That can become a CIO's nightmare from a support and an operational efficiency standpoint. Being able to have a platform that can, be a single point of engagement, and then be able to have reporting and understanding, the workflows and, being able to understand how are we responding to our students quickly, understanding also what are the areas that we're missing on, right? Why can't people find the information that they're looking for at a particular time? And being able to say, okay, now we have an opportunity to potentially automate this. And I think of a couple things, right? You've got employees, I can envision, and as well as students, right? Password resets, right? If there was a way to, take password resets off of everybody's table and have that automated, geez, wouldn't that be easier, right? Being able to take advantage of, technology instead of a person, and really have people focus on the important calls that really do need a person to be able to talk with. And being an open platform and having APIs available to build to these different CRMs and different systems, and think of ServiceNow from a technology standpoint, Illusion, Salesforce, whatever that might be. We make it easier to support that all-encompassing information base. Does that make sense, Paul?
Absolutely. And by the way, I'm very excited since you were very brief and succinct. That gives us more opportunities. Can we bring John back in? All right. You know what? I say this every time. I think the tech guys in the back are doing this on purpose, John. I'm supposed to be on the bottom to hold up these two experts. They do it on purpose, so I do this every single time.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, John, that was some great stuff. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Well, one of the things kind of early on in Eric's deck was about the support. Students many of the students who apply, of course, they want to come to college, but once they get to college, get to a university, are we able to provide support for those students? I think sometimes we forget that these are also human beings living in this world that we've created in 2023 and beyond and whatnot, and they have to navigate that. And they're oftentimes 18 years old, 20 years old, even 35 years old, but they have to navigate this world, and we got to figure out a way to provide them with support. And we got to provide them with support where they are. We can't just say, hey, come over to this area. We're going to put a program together. We're going to teach you how to be, self-resilient and whatever the case may be. We got to meet them where they are. And we got to meet them at these devices. And we got to make sure that, hey, we're listening and we're really putting together things that are almost individualized for each student. Because, that's how they're going to stay and maintain and be retained as students and turn into alumni that are ready and willing to give back to the university, whether it's financially or sending their kids to the university. We really got to support the students once they get to the campus. The other thing that Eric mentioned at the end was about the single point of engagement. That is such a thing now that we really need to focus on. There's so much data. There's so many different moving parts at a university. But if we can all get on the same page, reading from the same sheet of music, this how much more powerful could we be as a university? There are smart, intelligent, meaningful people that work here. But so many times they're working in silos. If we could figure out a way to put all these services, all these things we're providing, great tools out there. There are great tools in the education space. On one pane of glass, one sheet for everybody to read from, man, we'd be much more powerful. And at the end of the day, our students would benefit from it so much more if we could figure that. So that was really powerful what you shared there, Eric. And it looked over encompassing, even more things that I hadn't considered there.
So thanks, John. That's one of the areas that we hear from our customers and prospects is, just exactly how can I get better, right? It's that you're asking your students, hey, get better at life skills and education, and turning that mirror around and saying, how can we get better to support you and run our operations more efficiently? That becomes an interesting conversation, and one that sometimes gets lost in the student focus. We also have to think about how the university is running and what that impact is on the students.
Absolutely. And a lot of it goes back to just communication. If we can communicate, we can really find out what the needs are from the business side of the university, and also that other track, the student track. We can really find out. But we have to communicate and be out there talking and really trying to figure out, as a CIO, one of the worst things I've ever done is try to guess that I knew everything every single user needed and wanted and what would be important to them. I quickly found out that I'm not on the same wavelength with every single person at this university.
All right, so John, let me pull that string a little. And actually, an old VP of mine would say, we're very bad at reading your minds.
Absolutely.
Tell us. So how would you go about, or how have you gone about engaging the students so that they can give you the information so then you can make it better for them?
Yeah, good. Glad you asked that question. Number one thing I try to push and preach here to folks on my team and anybody who'll listen is, you got to get from behind the monitor. You just got to get from behind the monitor. You got to get out there and you got to see folks in their natural element, whether they're going to and from class or whether they're sitting in the commons area. You got to get out there and really find out what's important to them and whatnot. And sometimes you're surprised at what you find out, but if you can take that information, then mold it into some of these solutions, you have a better chance of being successful. Paul, on Thursday night, a couple days from now, my team is visiting 2 of the residence halls. We're going to go out. Right. We're probably going to be shocked to see us because we probably like old people to them.
Are you bringing food? Free food?
Absolutely.
They'll show up for free food.
I'll make the mistake of bringing coffee, right? And they'll be like, it's not Starbucks. We don't drink it, sir.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we're going to go out and we're just going to spend some time with them, listening, engaging with them, and, figuring out some small low-hanging fruit issues that we can resolve on the spot. But mostly it's just to get to know what's happening. And then for the rest of the month, we'll move to different residence halls and just trying to engage with those students and figure out what's important. Because trust me, I don't know how all of these new gaming systems work, but I'm sure I'm going to find out that what you provided for me is not cutting it, Mr. Norris. I'm pretty sure I'm going to find that out Thursday night. But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. And we try to do that as often as we can, and to find out some really good information, good data points.
So, John, let me ask, where on the priority list is the use or the exploration of artificial intelligence to help support the students once you find out this kind of information?
Well, it's there and it's moving really fast. And I'll tell you, as a small institution, we're probably not prepared, but as part of, what I have to get prepared for is that oncoming onslaught of data, and how to use that data intelligently. And that automation that you talked about, I want to use those kinds of things, workflow automation, to free us up to really then figure out, okay, how can we use AI and machine learning to really get to some answers quicker and develop some resources that'll help these students? Because as I mentioned, Amazon before, I mean, they've set a pretty high bar, but again, our students want us to know, based on their data points that they provided, whether they know it or not, they want us to know what's important to them and what's next. If I've taken these 3 classes in this area of study, then I should be recommending that, hey, you may also like this club or activity, or this opportunity to go to a workshop, or here's some internships that may make sense to you based on the data points that I have from you already. But I'll say we're not there yet, Eric, but as leaders, we do have to figure out how to get there pretty quickly. We have a brand new president of our university that started August 1st there. And that was the first question she asked. But she's coming from an institution that does do a lot with AI already. So we do have to get there pretty quickly, or I don't know.
So AI is coming, whether you like it or not, it's coming.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, and I find the interesting part in the technology.
Eric, actually, if I may, we're getting close on time.
Okay.
30 seconds. Your last thoughts, Eric, which you can just go ahead and use at that point.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that we hear from our customers is, how do we get better, and how do we be able to take advantage of the technologies that are out there to potentially upgrade and make it easier to operate as a university, at the same time supporting our students. And we certainly believe that Five9 can help with that.
All right, John.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in here really quickly and say, as a CIO, I feel like I'm not doing a very good job if I'm not making us get better by leveraging the new technologies that are out there. The train is moving pretty fast. There are pieces that we need to incorporate into the university to make it run better, and ultimately to make that student experience the best possible experience they could have. So they're talking about this place 20, 30 years from now, and not just about a football game, but actually about how this place cultivated them and got them to where they ultimately want to get to. So yeah, it's all these kinds of tools are awesome.
Awesome. But to be clear, you are doing a good job.
We are doing it, but we have to do more. We have to do more in every aspect of this campus and whatnot. And as we mentioned earlier, if you can bring it all together and us all play from the same sheet of music, I mean, just beautiful songs.
All right, love that. Eric from Five9, John, our resident expert CIO. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for episode 5. Great discussion. And everybody at home was happy because I wasn't talking as much. They want to hear from the experts. So thank you, gentlemen. We really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
With that.
You're welcome.
All right, with that. One thing I neglected to say at the top of the program, if you're interested, as always, in a free cybersecurity threat assessment, please reach out. We'll be happy to look under the hood for you and make sure we get you rocking and rolling. Also, we do have a new landing page. We'll have to make sure that we make that available. So basically, we have a site that houses all of the past episodes, announcements for the new episodes. Hopefully, you can see that at the bottom, down at the roundtable. So that'll have registration for new episodes. Again, all of the old episodes and highlights of our speakers and our vendor partners. But everyone, thank you so much. Our next is, and I point the wrong way, I got it right this time, October 10th, we're going to be talking about protecting institutional data. So thanks, everybody, and have a great day.